How are you?
Oh, just fine. How are you today, Dave?
Hey, thanks for taking a few minutes. I know you got practice coming up. Let's talk a little hoops here, a little high school hoops. You guys are off to a nice start, led by Connor Lafferty, Garrett Jones, Luciano Lebrano. Got a nice little squad going on there. Are you surprised at the start you guys have had?
Pretty much. I mean, I know that there were I had a lot of expectations of the abilities that they could have, but early in the year, you never know. And we played a lot of schools from Pennsylvania early in the year, and they're always a little bit ahead of us, so you just never knew. And an opening night was St. Augustine, who, the best team in South Jersey, so it was really hard to measure against that. But we just seem to be playing very well as a team. I don't think, as much as Connor has led us, for the most part, it's been really a group effort, and that's one of the things that I was looking forward to see if they could play together as a group collectively. And it seems like so far this year they've done a pretty good job doing that.
What's been the biggest difference with Connor this year? I mean, he's always been a guy who likes to get to the basket, sort of a slashing forward type of kid. What did he really work on in the offseason? And because he's kind of emerged as one of the top scoring guys in the Cape Atlantic League, at least so far, and really has the tools to be the kind of guy that can lead you guys this year. How much has he improved since last year?
Well, ironically, he's improved each year since his freshman year overall in his game. But I think what's kind of deceiving is that most people check the box score and won't see how many points he scores. But he actually just said to me today how he didn't think he's been playing all that well. But one of the things he does is he does the other thing. I think what's interesting is that he's getting double-digit rebounds at times. He makes good. He assists. He handles the ball. He does a lot of things that most of the time you think your role player would do, who doesn't score. That's what I think has improved is his overall game. Those other things. He has gotten better getting to the basket. I mean, he's going to develop a stronger body. The next couple of years, I know, when he has desires to play in college. But at the high school level, I think it's very rare anymore that we see a kid doing a lot of the little things other than score. It seems like we always check the box scores and we don't check the overall part of their game. So that's the part of his game that's gotten better.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember watching him a couple times last year, and like you said, he's one of those guys where you're watching a game and you see him making steals and getting rebounds when he shouldn't be and that kind of thing, and that obviously sets a good tone for the other guys. When your top player is the guy who's hustling the most, how important is that to have a guy like that who's really getting after it? Kind of inspires the other guys to do what they can for the team.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. That's the whole point, where he's not just sitting around, waiting to score points. And if he's not scoring points, he's not playing well. And then when the other players see how much he hustles and how much he's doing the little things, it kind of maximizes everybody. So what happens is everybody starts performing to the best of their own personal abilities. As they see how hard he's playing, they play that well. And that's what I mean as far as the whole team concept of the group seems to play at a higher level when Connor's out there giving it his all. The rest of the guys seem to do the same thing. So, yeah, I think it's very effective to have one of your better players is actually one of your hardest players.
And you have a kid like Garrett Jones who kind of brings that toughness from the football field, and he's a guy that's gonna work all four quarters and do kind of the dirty work underneath, that kind of thing. And it's got to be nice to have a kid like that who's really a positive influence and brings a little bit of toughness to the basketball court from the football field.
Well, there's no question about that. I mean, I am pretty much old school, been around a long time, and I've always been a proponent of the multi-sport kid. I've found in years past that we've been very successful when good soccer players are out there, when good football players are out there, and so you got guys like Andrew Donahue, Jimmy Fluky, Garrett Jones, what he brings, and those guys that play these other sports really brings a toughness that goes beyond. I mean, Garrett Jones is a much better athlete than he is a basketball player, but yet he gets everything out of his basketball abilities by being such a good athlete. So he plays much bigger. He's probably the best little big man that I've had in all the years here. He really is a tough. He rebounds. He fears no one. And I think that's what he brings from the football field, that he fears no one.
And he's got great hair.
Yeah. He's Odell Beckham Jr. for us.
You mentioned a guy named Jimmy Fluky. Obviously, soccer fans remember that name. Here's a guy who's been in a lot of championship games with the soccer team, and it's got to be great to have a guy like that who has been in big time games and is not going to get flustered when you're down 2 with 20 seconds to go.
Well, and as I said, I think that it's no different than him taking a kick at the end of the game when it's to decide the game. The kids are in that situation, and not even just being a part of it individually on their own, just being a part of it, just being out there on the field, just being there with his teammates, and that's why I said I think so many kids can learn so many pressure moment learning experiences from other sports. Andrew Dunne's got to take a snap with 2 seconds to go, and they got to score a touchdown, along that same line, and
right.
So I really do believe that that's what helps us. But I just do think that the intangibles are the physical play of soccer and the way football is, that it really brings a lot to itself on the basketball court.
We're talking with John Bruno, head coach of the Ocean City boys basketball team. Coach, how much did you learn from playing St. Augustine Prep in the season opener? Obviously, a lopsided win by the Hermits there. But you're facing guys like Saeed Nelson, Justin Mutz. I mean, these are top level South Jersey players. Obviously, going to be some college basketball players in the future. How much did you guys learn from playing a team like that right off the bat?
We learned they were the best team in South Jersey. Is what we learned. I just think that that's and it's good for the league. I know a lot of times in this day and age of all the conversation about parochials and privates and publics splitting up and all that. But they are the best, and that's who you try to measure yourself against. So when you see a kid like that, that's the ability you want to be able to match, and you get to play him a second time, and so that gives you something to shoot forward to. I always used to say the best time to play a team like that is opening night,
right?
Because they're not going to be where they are, in 2 months. So it'll be interesting to see how well we compare against them down the road. But right now, our focus is middle, and that's been something that's been pretty much our second level nemesis below St. Augustine in our division.
Yeah, you guys have a pretty big week ahead. You got Middle Township and Bridgeton both on the road, and then a home game Friday against a Pleasantville team that's really feeling good about themselves. They got a bunch of seniors, guys who have kind of been waiting their turn to become stars of that team, and I know they're a hungry squad. How tough is this week going to be for you guys?
This is probably a pivotal week for us because the style of teams that we played coming out of Pennsylvania were more disciplined, run sets and things like that, whereas this week is going to be full of large guard-dominated athletic play up and down, and so it'll be a different type of thing. And so, middle year in, year out, I don't want to hear people say how they think they're down because they don't have that star player. They've got some pretty good players of their own, but the style of play that Tommy Fracco has instilled in them doesn't change with the talent level. They always come after you. Bridgeton is going to be the same way. Pleasantville. This is probably a pivotal week, and then you do try to take one game at a time. It just happens that each game is going to be a big one.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Fracco coach teams have down years. that guy knows what he's doing.
Buy into that. And even when he says it, I don't buy into it. So.
He gives you the old Lou Holtz thing. We're not a very good football team this year.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, they're 10-1 playing in the Rose Bowl.
And they're not that good. And then they'll tell you they're not that good.
Right. And Bridgeton is one of those teams, man, they're going to get up and down the court. They got some guys that can jump out of the gym, and they take a ton of shots, and they don't seem to care if they miss them because they do so well with rebounding. How tough a challenge is that going to be?
Well, as soon as you say the word rebounding, that's when the red flag goes up for us because we're not really a big team. So we really have to rebound well as a team and really put our bodies, boxing out is always something everybody says, but we just hope that we put our bodies between, them and the ball and do the best job to get it. Because we kind of have a kind of a different kind of an athletic team. We do like to get up and down the floor ourselves a little bit too in transition because that we're not that big. But we do have 5 guys that can all run down the floor equally. So we try to get out when we can too, and that's kind of sometimes an Achilles heel. Sometimes if you turn the ball over a little too much in transition, and you got to be careful of that. But in those games all this week, I don't think you're going to see any semblance of Princeton in any of the 3 games that we have this week.
No, you're probably going to see some scores in the 70s, maybe even the 80s, right?
Well, I hope not, but yeah, you might. Because I don't know if we have 80 in us, but we'll try to match them as best as we can. But it'll be interesting basketball.
Good stuff, Coach. I know you got to get off to practice. Thanks for taking a few minutes, and good luck this week. I'm sure we'll be seeing you out there.
You're welcome. Thanks for all that you do. Appreciate everything you guys do.
No problem. Thanks Coach.
Bye-bye.
That was Coach John Bruno of the Ocean City boys basketball team.